Go into the world and tell every man that you meet, there is a man on the cross.
A Catholic Take. What you need to know right now. A bold synthesis of inspiration and information. Keeping you up to date on the news and issues from a courageous Catholic perspective.
A Catholic Take with Joe McLean starts now.
Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McLean. It is great to be on with you. Praise be to God. Hey, good news. Good news indeed. The Trump administration is set to destroy $10 million worth of contraception, abortifacients, all intended for Africa. Or will they? Kind of mixed messaging going on here in this article over at LifeSite News. We're going to get into that because it reminds me of my trip to Virginia and a joint press conference there with PRI and Lepanto Institute when they showed the receipts of Catholic Relief Services working hand in glove with USAID, PEPFAR, and all these federal government organizations and all of their federal tax dollar monies to bring condoms and sexual education to African sterilization projects. We're going to be talking about that at 14 past the hour. Praise be to God. Also on the team today is Conor Gallagher. He is the CEO over at 10 Books. He's got a brand new book out, Raising Blue-Collar Kids in a White-Collar World with Grit and Grace. I got to tell you, this book is more to help motivate, maybe a kick in the pants to parents to stop raising, worldly, comfortable kids, but kids that have some resilience to them. It's a short read. It's a sweet read. We're going to get into that with Conor Gallagher at 30 past the hour. Plus, anything you want to talk about in the after show is also on the agenda. We'll put the show notes up for you at thestationofthecross.com/ACT. Let's get started. But share us with a friend. We'd be grateful. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to thy protection, implored thy help, or sought thine intercession was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, I fly unto thee, O Virgin of Virgins, my mother. To thee do I come, before thee I stand sinful and sorrowful. O Mother of the Word incarnate, despise not my petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer me. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. And now your saint of the day.
Saint Jan Berkmans, pray for us. Jan was born in the year of our Lord 1599, the son of a Flemish cobbler in what is now Belgium. He displayed remarkable piety from an early age, and was especially devoted to serving at Holy Mass several times a week. Every Friday he would make the Stations of the Cross barefoot outdoors. Though his parents were initially opposed, Jan entered the Jesuits, hoping he would someday die a battlefield chaplain. After the death of his wife, Jan's father even pursued the priesthood himself, though he passed away less than a year after his ordination. Having been made a subdeacon, Jan took his first vows and then traveled on foot to Rome to study philosophy. In August of the year of our Lord 1621, Jan took part in a philosophical debate, then fell violently ill with a fever. The Jesuit Superior General and Cornelius a Lapide were among his visitors, as the whole school mourned their pious brother's illness. Pure and saintly though he was, even he endured terrible temptations at the hour of death, exacerbated by his fever. Jan died on August 13th, clutching his crucifix, rosary, and Jesuit rulebook. Countless miracles have since been attributed to him. He is hailed as a patron of the youth, and especially of altar boys. For more about this day and others in the Church's calendar, visit thestationofthecross.com/saintsandseasons. St. Jan Berkmans, pray for us.
And now your headline news. The Breitbart is reporting Texas AG Paxton wants to put Beto O'Rourke in jail. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has requested a state court to authorize the arrest of Beto O'Rourke for allegedly violating a court order by fundraising for Texas House Democrats who fled the state to block a redistricting vote. The temporary restraining order issued by a Tarrant County judge prohibits O'Rourke and his group Powered by People from financially supporting these Democrats, with Paxton seeking contempt charges that could lead to jail time. And Catholic Vote reports Bishop to serve as parish priest amid priest shortage. Bishop Douglas Lucia, the Diocese of Syracuse, has made an unusual decision. He will serve as pastor at 3 churches in his diocese, all while continuing as bishop. He made the move to ensure that the faithful have the sacraments during a priest shortage, and he welcomes the chance for closer ministry. And those are your headline news. The gospel today comes to us from Matthew chapter 18, verses 15 through 20. Jesus said to his disciples, "But if thy brother shall offend against thee, go and rebuke him between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee, thou shalt gain thy brother. And if he will not hear thee, take with thee 1 or 2 more, that in the month or out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may stand. And if he will not hear them, tell the church. And if he will not hear the church, let him be to thee as the heathen and publican. Amen, I say to you, whatsoever you shall bind upon earth shall be bound also in heaven, and whatsoever you shall loose upon earth shall be loosed also in heaven. Again, I say to you, that if two of you shall consent upon earth concerning anything whatsoever they shall ask, it shall be done to them by my Father who is in heaven. For where there are 2 or 3 gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them." The Gospel of the Lord. Laus tibi Christi. Whom is Jesus speaking to in this passage? Is he speaking to you? Is he speaking to me? Not primarily, no. We're like the fly on the wall, overhearing the conversation. Jesus is speaking to his apostles, his disciples. And who are the successors of those apostles, those disciples? Is it you? Is it me? No, we're not. I'm not a bishop, and you're probably not a bishop, unless you are a bishop listening right now, and thanks for listening. But it's much more likely that you're a lay folk, which means you are not the primary audience of this. The 2 or 3 is not talking about you and me. It is talking about those disciples, those apostles who are gathered, who have been given the keys, the power of binding and loosing. Matthew 16, those keys are given to Peter directly and personally. Now Matthew 18, it's given to the church. And this is a powerful passage because there can be only one church that has the hierarchy, the power, the authority to bind and to loose and to excommunicate, to judge. There can be only one. What do you call a father who fathers multiple families? The word we use in our mind right now for that description is not a good one. That is not a good man. That is a bad man who fathers more than one family. But the Father in heaven, he has only ever fathered one family. His church is hierarchical, and it has the authority and the power. There can be only one. If there's more versions, if there's more authority, if there's multiple strains of authority, this verse makes no sense. I want you to ponder that today. Father Haydock would say, if he will not hear the church, that is, if he will not obey the prelate placed over the church to guide and to govern it, and who alone has a right to be heard and obeyed, then this bishop, divesting himself of the character of a father, must exercise the function of a judge. And by the sentence of excommunication, separate this incurable and incorrigible sinner from the body of the faithful, by whom he is no longer to be regarded in the light of a brother. This line of conduct is to be observed in order that, smarting under this correction, he may repent spiritus salvus fiat, and not infect the flock over whom the pastor has charge. God has set his apostles over his church. I will build my church, he says in Matthew chapter 16. We covered that, was it last week when we talked about that passage? The power of binding and loosing. This was not new in Matthew 16 or Matthew 18, by the way. This comes to us all the way back to Genesis chapter 1, 2, and 3. This has always been the model. This has always been the design. There was a period of time out, a period of pause. Exodus 32, the worshiping of the golden calf, when God's chosen people stopped to worship a demon in an orgy there at Sinai. Let that sink in. And then they repeated the process at the plains of Moab. And then they repeat the process again when they're in the Holy Land and there's a civil war and the 10 tribes to the north break off. They set up the golden calves, they worship demons, and then guess what? Child sacrifice becomes normal in the Holy Land. So much so that the valley of Hinnom, Gehenna, is where they offered those human sacrifices. And they still find the remains of children to this day in archaeological finds, offered as sacrifices to demons. Power of binding and loosing, the one church, the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. There can be only one. This verse, the will, the mind of God himself, the God-man, would have to be tossed out if there's more than one church that has authority. There can be only one. Ponder that today. We're going to be back in 2 minutes. Let's talk about destroying condoms. Is this a win? We'll talk about it.
Did you know you can help evangelize simply by using your cell phone? The Station of the Cross is partnering with iCatholic Mobile, America's only Catholic mobile phone company. When you join iCatholic Mobile, a portion of every dollar will support our programming. Plus, you'll enjoy great service with iCatholic Unlimited 5G data, text, and talk. With iCatholic Mobile, you can stay connected with family and friends while also spreading the truth of Jesus Christ with clarity and charity. Join today at iCatholicMobile.com.
Coming up at 30 past the hour, we're going to have a conversation with Conor Gallagher, CEO at Tan Books, about his latest book, Raising Blue-Collar Kids in a White-Collar World, Toughening Up Your Kids with Grit and Grace. Honestly, it's more like toughening up your parents, because the parents kind of need toughening up. Have we allowed our kids to become so soft because we've become so soft? That's one of the questions I have with Conor coming up at 30 past the hour. But I saw this headline yesterday over at LifeSite News. I'm going to link to this and everything else in the show notes for you today. But Trump admin to destroy $10 million worth of contraception abortifacients intended for Africa. Just let that sink in. The Trump admin is planning to burn a stockpile of birth control pills, IUDs, and other contraceptives purchased by the Biden admin and originally headed for poor African countries. Or will they destroy them? I think there's a bit of a mixed message in this article. I want to get into that for you. But before I do, you might remember that back in 2024, I drove out to Virginia for a joint press conference for the Population Research Institute, Steve Mosher, and Michael Hitchborn's Lepanto Institute on their report after doing their due diligence, finding the receipts of how Catholic Relief Services partnered up with PEPFAR, USAID, to take taxpayer dollars and use it to distribute condoms and perverse sexual education in poor African countries. Have a listen to this.
We are here today to release the results of a year-long field investigation of Catholic Relief Services projects in 3 African countries. These countries are Cameroon, Zimbabwe, and Lesotho. And yes, I said year-long investigation, and it was an investigation that involved sending investigators to do on-the-ground research in these 3 countries of CRS projects. We do not take the questions that we are about to ask lightly, nor should we. These are questions that involve the health not just of bodies, but of souls. I'm talking about the souls of girls and young women aged from 10 to 24 years of age, who are the targets of certain USAID, PEPFAR-funded projects in Africa. That's USAID, the United States Agency for International Development, and PEPFAR, the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Reduction. CRS has participated in these projects in various questionable ways.
I'm going to link to this video. I did some interviewing while I was there, and you can find that linked up in the show notes today over at thestationofthecross.com/ACT. It's very, very revealing as they go through the receipts. But I want to go through this article for you over at LifeSite News. It says the U.S. State Department under the Trump administration has indicated it intends to go through with the destruction of approximately $10 million worth of contraceptives whose distribution to Africa has been canceled by rule changes against taxpayer-funded abortion. During a July 29 State Department press briefing, a reporter asked for an update about millions of dollars worth of contraceptives stocked in Belgium that are due to be incinerated in France. I know that the Belgian government is trying to find alternative solutions. Is the U.S. government ready to find alternative solutions, or are they destined to be destroyed? Well, I do. I want to have that taken back. This is a situation that changes each day, close quote, said State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce, going on to say, quote, this is a situation regarding birth control and other mechanisms that could be used. First of all, that would violate our Mexico City policy regarding the use of abortifacients, but also the use of some elements that could be used in a kind of forced sterilization framework that some nations do apply, which also we will not facilitate. You remember the days when if you were to say that forced sterilization framework, you'd be considered a conspiratorialist. You'd like a crazy conspiracy theorist. You'd have to put on your tinfoil hat because you said, oh, they're trying to sterilize people in Africa. Turns out it's true. It turns out the government is admitting that, in fact, that's what we were doing with American taxpayer dollars. It goes on, quote, I think this was a purchase from the previous administration, and so we're dealing with that, close quote, she added. Bruce's comments indicated the planned disposal is still on track, but did not conclusively rule out a pause or a different decision. Are we going to burn them or aren't we? The Catechism of the Catholic Church does say that contraceptives are inherently evil. Not only do they disrupt the marital act between a man and a woman, but they're also abortifacients. They lead to the death of a child. And this is why the church has always taught against them. And we can't tolerate them. But here we are. It seems like there's some indecision. They may not. We're keeping our options open. Typical Trump stuff. It goes on. The Department of State later said that a preliminary decision was made to destroy certain abortifacient contraceptives. The Hill reports, and that the Kemp-Kasten Amendment also bars the federal government from aiding any entity with a program of coercive abortion or involuntary sterilization, which affects non-abortifacient contraceptives provided as assistance to entities that do not make the commitment required under the policy. The Center for Family and Human Rights, or CFAM, notes that the stockpile, which includes birth control pills, implants, shots, and IUDs, is valued at $10 million, and that two prominent international abortion facilitators, International Planned Parenthood Federation and the MSI Reproductive Choices, formerly Marie Stopes, had offered to buy the drugs, a deal that would have violated the Mexico City policy. Population control in Africa has been a particular focus of both organizations and the United Nations Population Fund. Do you remember the lady who founded Planned Parenthood? Kind of a racist and a eugenicist. Remember that? Yeah, me too. 77% of the supply had been intended to go to 5 African countries. According to IPPF, Kenya, Tanzania, Zambia, Mali, and Congo. The abortion giant estimated that the loss will mean a 28% reduction in Tanzania's needed contraceptives. Why do they need contraceptives exactly? Why do they need these things? A 24% reduction in Mali's and an almost 14% reduction in Kenya's annual so-called contraceptive need. Many contraceptive methods, including birth control pills and IUDs, act as abortifacients. Moreover, birth control has been found to cause serious medical harm to women. I think I've told you this story many times before anecdotally, but many years ago, when I was doing Catholic apologetics work primarily, I had a listener of one of my podcasts from Chicago. He was an engineer at one of these big pharma companies. He told me about how many men had contracted breast cancer because they were working on the pill at the company. Men who had contracted breast cancer because they were working on the pill. Let that sink in. Within days of returning to office, the article goes on, President Donald Trump signed executive orders to reinstate the Mexico City policy governing foreign aid and direct federal agencies to recognize the Hyde Amendment's limits on dispensing federal money domestically. The Mexico City policy forbids non-governmental organizations from using taxpayer dollars for elective abortions abroad. President Ronald Reagan first instituted the policy back in 1984. And George W. Bush reinstated it in 2001. For decades, it has been taken for granted that Democrat presidents rescind the policy shortly after taking office, and Republican presidents restore it. Restoring the policy was one of the first acts of Trump's first term. And he said on the 2024 campaign that he would consider bringing it back. Likewise, the Hyde Amendment is traditionally included every year in federal budgets with little objection and has been estimated to have saved more than 2 million lives since its adoption decades ago by forbidding most taxpayer dollars from directly funding abortions except for cases of rape, incest, or alleged threat to a mother's life. President Joe Biden proposed removing it in the budget he submitted to Congress and worked throughout his presidency to distribute funds to entities involved in abortion. Yeah, Catholic President Joe Biden, all for everything he could do while he was in office to promote the killing of children. Abortion, the destruction of an innocent unborn baby in his or her mother's womb, is always gravely unjust and never necessary to protect a mother's health. Trump has also cut millions in pro-abortion subsidies by freezing U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID, spending. In March, the administration froze Title X family planning grants to nonprofits it said violated its executive orders on immigration and diversity, equity and inclusion, DEI initiatives, including Planned Parenthood affiliates in 9 states. In July, Trump signed into law his controversial One Big Beautiful Bill Act, or the BBB, a wide-ranging policy package that includes a 1-year ban on federal tax dollars going through Medicaid to an entity that commits abortions for reasons other than rape, incest, or supposed threats to the mother's life, although that provision is currently held up by legal challenge. You know what? The child should never be punished for the crimes of its parents, which is why we as Catholics say, even in cases of rape or incest, we would also not support abortion. The child who is alive does not deserve a death sentence because its parents decided to do something evil. The article concludes, other Republicans have proposed standalone measures to fully cut off Planned Parenthood's government funding. The No Taxpayer Funding for Abortion and Abortion Insurance Full Disclosure Act, which permanently bans federal funds from being used for abortion, and the Defund Planned Parenthood Act, which disqualifies Planned Parenthood and its affiliates specifically. But they would require 60 votes to make it through the Senate. And golly gee whiz, where are we going to get 60 votes from conservatives or Christians, evangelicals, or Catholics serving in Capitol Hill? I mean, they couldn't get together to make this a reality, to save their lives, could they? Because I guess babies are they're just not worth all that, is it? I mean, it's bizarre to me. In my conversation with Steve Mosier, which again, I'm going to link to this for you below in the show notes over at thestationofthecross.com/ACT. My first question to Steve Mosier is, why Catholic Relief Services taking all that sweet money from USAID and PEPFAR to bring condoms and sexual education to poor Africans, why do they teach masturbation? If you say your goal is to reduce AIDS in the African continent, that's a good thing. But then why teach Why teach masturbation, which is also inherently evil? Why do we do that? A Catholic relief service should not be having any part whatsoever of evil, and anything the church teaches is wrong. And yet it was doing it for years. It was doing it in Africa. Probably still is. Why is that? Why not teach abstinence, which we know works 100% of the time it's used? Absolutely. But for whatever reason, it's not good enough. You should have all the sex you want without all those consequences. The harsh reality is there, in fact, is consequences. Eternal consequences. So I pray that they burn those $10 million worth of condoms and abortifacients, and I hope you do too. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Praise be to Jesus. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McClain, and here are your headline news. The Hill reports Mamdani leading New York City mayor race by 19 points. Siena College poll released yesterday shows Zoran Mamdani leading by 19 points over his next closest opponent, former New York Gov. Andrew Cuomo, 44 to 25%. Republican nominee Curtis Silva was considerably behind them with 12%, followed by the incumbent mayor Eric Adams with a measly 7%. Cuomo, who lost the Democratic primary to Mamdani, and Adams, who skipped it altogether, both are still registered Democrats but are pursuing independent bids for mayor. The poll was taken among registered New York voters. Just the News reports annual inflation rate held steady in July. The country's annual inflation rate in July was 2.7%, according to the Labor Department's monthly Consumer Price Index report, a key inflation gauge. The rate increase from June to July was 0.2% after rising to 0.3% in June, so it's headed in the wrong direction. Catholic Vote reports after distributing a disturbing report, organ donors are opting out. Thousands of Americans are opting out of being organ donors after a New York Times report raised alarms about rushed organ harvesting that in some cases involves non-responsive patients who still show signs of life. Yeah, they're a wee bit jumpy, aren't they? Those are your headline news. Joining us now is the author of the book Raising Blue-Collar Kids in a White-Collar World, Conor Gallagher. He's the CEO of 10 Books. He's written several books. He's the host of a podcast, and he's a family man. Praise be to God, and he joins us now. Good morning to you, Conor. Thank you for your time.
It's good to be back, man. It's always good to be here.
Praise be to God in all things with grit and grace. I like that. That's nice. I'm going to be honest with you, though. I think this is less to do about raising kids and more to do about raising parents. Because I think we have allowed our kids to be super soft. Going on page number 7 here, you say, we've forgotten what it means to live humbly, to push ourselves out of comfort and into something far better. We've become afraid of real hard work, and we've tried to spare our children such hard work as well. We've exchanged grit for comfort. I can see my own guilt in this sentence here because I want my kids to not suffer. I want them to feel like they can learn from my mistakes in life. So what's wrong with that?
Well, yeah, first of all, going back to your comment about the book is more about helping parents get tough than kids. You know, it reminds me of Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer. You remember that guy who goes in and trains dogs? Yeah. And so what I think his tagline is something like, I rehabilitate dogs and I train people, you know? And it's a really good tagline because it's really not our kids' fault. It's our generation. So I think you have to kind of look at this in the whole historical context of why children are so wimpy today. Like the generation that's entering the workforce right now. So we're talking millennials are managers now, and Gen Z is entering the workforce, and they're all-time high wimpy, thin skin. They feel entitled, and I think every generation complains about the next generation, but come on, we really are at a all-time high in the history of the planet of spoiled, rotten brats. And, you've probably seen that little logo or that infographic that says hard times make strong men. Well, that was the World War II generation. That was the greatest generation. Those guys were tough as nails, right? And so, I mean, if you storm the beach of Normandy and then you come home and you go work in a factory, you're just tough. They made those strong men made good times. And so the baby boomer generation became really soft. And so then they were weak men, and they kind of ended up making bad times, you know? So it's like this cycle. And so we're entering into that kind of bad time where we have radical inflation. We got, you know, everything from transgenderism taking over. Furries are, I mean, I heard something the other day about how literally a school up in Michigan, I think it was, put a kitty litter box in the bathroom because the elementary school identified as furries, as a cat. I mean, so all of this complete and total nonsense that our radical comfort in our world has given us, it has resulted in children having no sense of reality. And in fact, you were in your previous segment, which I was listening to, you were talking about the birth control, you know, in multiple ways. And that's made us lazy. That's made us entitled. That's made us wimpy because we just get pleasure without any consequence. So, you know, I've looked at society as a whole, and I've also just looked at the microcosm of my own family and what I've tried to do. And I have 16 kids, 8 boys, 8 girls, 1 pair of twins that are 7, 3 grandkids now. And I look at this and I say, okay, one thing that my wife and I have kind of gotten right, you know, I mean, I'm not saying we're great, but one thing we kind of got right is we've raised tough kids, and we're continuing to do so. And my kids are outperforming their peers by leaps and bounds because they have a work ethic, because they know how to wake up in the morning. They know that there's things like objective truth and rules and regulations, and everyone has to pitch in and take out the trash. And so I'm just seeing, like, my little family with all of our imperfections. I'm raising these awesome kids because everyone else is raising totally wimpy, whiny babies that don't know how to work. So that kind of led to writing the book. But it began with self-reflection, because I was raised like this white collar kid with no chores and kind of spoiled. And I had to kind of develop a work ethic myself, you know.
Wow. You know, it's such a good point, just the work ethic thing. I remember when my oldest went and got a job at the Burger King, and I kind of didn't want him to do it. You know, I caved in. He and my wife had conspired together. He wanted money. He needed a car someday. So they wanted to get him a job. And I'm like, don't do it, because he's going to trade this time. And I knew the instant he shows up, they're going to realize this guy shows up to work. He can be counted upon. He'll work hard. They're going to put his name on the deed. For crying out loud, they're going to give him keys to the building. They're going to make him the manager. And I'm like, no, I do not want him to be sucked into the vortex of fast food. And that's exactly what they did. And he was working till 2 o'clock in the morning, and it drove me nuts. But then he bought his car with cash, praise be to God. And you stand out in this noisy little world of ours. If you just have a work ethic, if you'll show up and work hard, people will recognize you way faster, because all of your peers tend to be lazy and entitled. It's so true.
You got it, man. It's like that exact same story. My daughter worked at Chick-fil-A, and at 17, she was the Chick-fil-A manager, and she was literally opening the store. Now, I'm pretty sure that's illegal because she's not even old, but she was doing it. And sure enough, she bought her car with cash too. I mean, it's like, so, I mean, there is a very natural law way that we can kind of raise our kids with toughness. And, you know, people who are, you know, traditional Catholics got an edge on this because we kind of recognize the natural law. We tend to have more children, which kind of forces more chores in the house, more responsibility. We don't coddle our kids until they're 18, you know, so there's just different factors. But yeah, I think that, you know, if we want our children to grow, let me connect this with the Catholic faith, right? People might be like, what does this have to do with Catholic faith? It has everything to do, because Aquinas says grace builds upon nature. And so if you want the sacramental grace to flow more freely, if you want grace from confession and from receiving the Holy Eucharist, and you want your kids when they get married to really benefit from the sacramental grace of holy matrimony, you need to respect the natural law. God wants the grace to flow, but if the natural order is all out of whack, and you don't have the natural virtues like fortitude to be tough, temperance, control over your body, which is also tough. If you don't have those things, then sacramental grace kind of doesn't have a place to land. And so you need to, it's like, I got really, really dehydrated one time. I had it's E. coli. I was sick, really sick. Okay. And so they told me, they're like, you get extremely dehydrated and your body needs to slowly get rehydrated. That's why they have a drip. So if you have hard soil, Joe, and you dump a bucket of water on it, it all just runs off. But if you have a drip, then slowly your body tissue can like consume that water. Just like if you drip water onto hard soil, it'll slowly leak it in. So when you don't have the natural virtues, your body's like that really hard soil. Grace can't get in as easily, right? Very little of it gets in. And so you have to make your natural order very hydrated so that your spiritual tissue can receive that grace more naturally. And so that's why I want people to have like what I call blue collar kids. I don't mean they have to go be plumbers. I don't mean that at all. They might go be brain surgeons or rocket scientists or perfect AI or what. That's not the point. The point is their soul is resilient and tough and they can persevere. And when they fall down, they get back up and they're not afraid to get their hands dirty and they understand the natural order. Sometimes says no. And you usually don't find that out until you're like working in nature. You know what I mean? Like how many transgender farmers do you know? You know what I mean? Like you don't,
I'm scratching my head. I can't recall a single one.
Yeah. They don't, you know, if you encounter nature every day, if you're working outside, if you have to mow the grass and take care of chickens and you understand if you want more chickens, you need a rooster. Like if you can embrace nature, in some way, and urban lifestyle makes that difficult, then you're going to have an appreciation for the natural order. And that's what I mean by like a blue collar kid is a kid that has those traits. So if they go off and be a lawyer or a doctor, they're going to be even all the better because grace can flow more freely. And they have a work ethic that their peers don't have.
Well, we don't want to push our kids too far, right? Well, you say here, the irony is that strong parents who deliver strong messages create strong bonds with their kids. Weak parents who can't deliver strong messages create weak bonds. You know, and I think that's what's the old saying? Raise them in their way, and when they get old, they shall return to it. You know, I think there's something to that. There's this period of life where they're very immature and they tend to make poor choices. Our job as parents is to hedge their bet and try to help them as much as possible to make as good as choices as possible during that phase of immaturity so that when they get to the other side of it, it's not as bad as it was when I was their age. Because I made a lot of terrible decisions when I was in my immature phase. And we want to set them up so they can face the world and stand on their own 2 feet. Something we talk about a lot with our older teens is just being principled, like understanding who do you want to be? Who do you claim to be? What kind of person do you claim to be? Are you a principled person? Do you want to be that principled person who can be in a crowd of peers and not make the same stupid decisions that they make simply because you're in the same crowd? Is that who you want to be? Do you want to be that kind of a person? Then you have to start by doing those things. You have to start by making those decisions, saying those things out loud, and committing to yourself. You also say, I like this part here, figure it out. It's not cruel. It's an act of love. You're building problem-solving skills that will serve them for life. Boy, that was a very Marine Corps thing to say, which drives my wife nuts. You know, I'm like, figure it out. Jump in. I mean, like, why can't a 10-year-old figure out how to file my taxes? Just do it. Like, figure it out. Like, you should be able to, pull the engine out of my van and rebuild that thing and put it back. Like, figure it out. Like, kids are resilient, but we've got to give them the space, the opportunity, and the sort of the inspiration, the influence to learn new things, to strive, to push beyond their comfort zones, right?
Yeah, and I think that first of all, homeschooling is great because it does you have to learn math sometimes on your own. Yeah, that stuff's good, really good. Self-education's a great trait that's going to make you dominate the workforce. But Can you figure out how to fix a lawnmower? Can you change your own oil? Things like that. Little things that, a white collar kid like me didn't learn. But man, if you can teach your kid how to not have to run and pay an expert to do everything, you're setting them up for a ton of success down the road.
I just made my son take off the carburetor and clean it on the lawnmower. Not all that long ago because it wasn't running. That music means we're at a break. We're going to be back in 2 minutes with Conor Gallagher. His book is Raising Blue-Collar Kids in a White-Collar World with Grit and Grace. On page 43, you say, by shifting the focus from external fairness to internal virtue, parents can help their children develop the resilience and character needed to thrive in an imperfect world. This approach, rooted in blue-collar wisdom, prepares kids for the realities of life while nurturing their spiritual growth. It's funny. I often say, my kids will say, that's not fair. I'm like, life's not fair. Life is not fair. Get used to it. Get ready for it. You got to be able to deal with an unfair world. But too many kids, I think, they demand fairness. It's like they're entitled to it. So no matter what, everybody gets a trophy, right?
Yeah, you got it. And so like that, when the kids are bickering and fighting, and we all understand that, you have to, they're looking for you to be referee. And I hate being the referee. So I just don't do it. So what I do is I tell myself, Conor, you're not a referee. You're a spiritual coach, so you have to point your kids to a virtue to use at a certain time. And usually those virtues don't really come into effect until your kids confronting adversity. And that usually comes from other siblings in the house, So that's the beauty of when your kids are fighting or there's conflict in the house, you all of a sudden have a right situation to practice virtue, right? That's why God gives us adversity. So actually, Joe, this is a great segue into the masterclass I'm about to hold. Can I tell you about that real quick?
Sure.
So my wife and I are teaching a master class on August 22nd. You can go to wellorderedfamily.com and on the menu, click on that and go to the master class. The reason I'm bringing this up is in the master class, I'm helping people develop what we call the core virtues for their family. Because what you just read there explains like, okay, when you have all this conflict in the house or adversity, again, what virtues do you point to say, we are going to live that virtue no matter what the older sibling did, no matter what the teacher did, no matter what the kid on Little League did, we're going to live that virtue. And I think that's how you make really tough kids is they learn we have a core set of virtues in this house and we're not budging from them. And so it also is a trick for parents. When your kids are misbehaving, you can say, you remember that virtue? We agreed. That's our family virtue. We're sticking to that. Now, you can't list 20 of them because, you just have to simplify it. So one of the core virtues that we have in our house is no scorekeeping. And so, the kids are always keeping score, right? Like, hey, I did the dishes last night, or I did his chores yesterday for him because he was gone. So he has to do mine for me or whatever. And I hate that. So, it's not like out of the catechism, but one of our core virtues in our family is no scorekeeping. And it's a shortcut way for me, Joe, to say no scorekeeping, no scorekeeping. I don't have to give some long lecture. I just say the word, boom, and they know exactly what I'm talking about. So in our master class, my wife and I, and by the way, everyone prefers to hear from my wife than me because I'm just the talking head. She's the expert actually living this every day.
Right.
We're going to help people on August 22nd figure out how to find their own core virtues in their house so that they can raise gritty, tough kids who are focused on virtue rather than fairness.
And so how does someone get access to your class?
Yeah, so they go to just wellorderedfamily.com. And on the menu, you click the menu and you'll see register for the master class. And you just sign up. It's really inexpensive. I think it's like $20 or something. And it's about 90 minutes, but you're going to get to hear from my wife more than me, which is good. And then we're going to help you figure out your core virtues. And the other exercise we're doing in the master class is what's your family scorecard? And what I mean by that is there's some things that you want. If you get really good at something in life, I don't care what it is, fitness, health, investing, you learn how to measure certain things with precision, right? And so we get real intentional. Again, that's another part of raising tough kids, is getting them to focus on a few things in their life. It might be school, it might be virtue, it might be athletics. I don't care what it is. It's like, what are you focused on? And are you going to learn how to measure it with precision? So just like in a good business, you have scorecards where you're measuring certain metrics of success. I mean, your radio show, you have to look at certain metrics to know how it's doing. Well, I think that families should have a family scorecard. And so in that scorecard, you're able to, for your whole family, little kids, all the way to big kids, mom and dad, they say, you know what, we are focused on praying the rosary 4 times a week, or going to confession once a month, or having a GPA of a certain level, or debt payoff. We're going to try that. Or, you know, I don't have to bark at you about doing your chores because you know what you're supposed to do. And so less than 2 times a week, I have to yell at you. You know, that's a score.
Right, less than 2.
Yeah, whatever. You know, I mean, that's like, hey, if I hit that goal, man, I'd be happy because I'm yelling every day. So,
it'd be a good day.
You know, but developing a scorecard for your family, which is different than mine. So in our masterclass, we're kind of helping you find your core virtues, helping you build a scorecard, because I think that's what makes blue collar kids. They learn how to follow the rules and follow systems and focus on what's important, rather than this white collar entitled garbage that, you know, really leads to the, you know, it's the road to perdition. That's really what it is.
What would you say to parents, though, that maybe they're thinking, you know, well, that's nice for you because you started to raise those kids from their infancy, and so you've controlled that environment their entire lives. But what if you have a kid who's out of control already? They've never had any systems. They've never had any help. Is it possible to recover?
Yeah, it's a really hard question in a sense. In another way, it's a really easy question. But I'm very sensitive to that, because a lot of parents, they go through a conversion, you know, and the kids are in high school or even later than that, and they don't know how to like put the genie back in the bottle. Right. And I say this, number one, you got to sit down and confess to your kids. Okay. So you have to admit you were wrong in certain ways and say, I wish I would have done like this. I wish I would have done like that. And then the other thing is, I said this just yesterday on Jesse Ramiro's show, and I was saying, listen, St. Ambrose looked at Monica, who was Augustine's mother, and he said, Monica, if you would pray for your son as much as you complain about him, he'd probably already be a saint, right? So I say, number one, spiritually, really pray for your kids. Like really, you know, you haven't been a perfect parent. Join the club, but you need to pray for your kids intentionally. And so you need to start putting in the hard work, perhaps even as penance for, you know, being a bad parent, or not a bad parent, but a weak parent. On your knees, are you fasting for your child that's gone astray? What are you mortifying your body for that child? Are you praying, putting in real time? I don't mean just like, God bless my son. No. Are you getting on your knees and doing an hour of adoration for them? Have you confessed in a general confession your shortcomings as a parent? Have you examined your conscience for all the sins of omission, not just commission, that you have committed or not done things as omission as you were raising your children? You know, you have to really take this on spiritually and start making real sacrifices. I don't care if you're 80 and your kid is 50. Okay, they're still your kid, and you still have a certain level of spiritual authority over them in some way, shape, or form. And you can, and the spiritual blessings and graces that can flow from your sacrifices to your adult child is monumental. You also need to invoke specifically with humility and begging on your knees and gratitude, asking their guardian angel to help them. So my guardian angel is the hardest working dude in the universe, because I am sending him all over the place to do very specific things, you know, to where I'm saying, don't protect me, go protect him. So that's a couple things there to answer your question. I'm sorry I was long-winded.
No,
that's
it's good.
A really important point.
Conor Gallagher, thanks for your time today. That music means we're out of time. Raising blue-collar kids in a white-collar world. Toughening Up Your Kids with Grit and Grace by 10books.com. We'll put a link to that in the show notes today as well. But Conor Gallagher, always great to have you on the team. Thank you very much.
Thanks, buddy. You too. Thank you.
And we're back. Welcome to the after show, everyone.
Good morning. And I do not feel well today. I am.
Go back to bed.
The struggle bus is
I'll
real today.
I'll hang out and argue with the chat for the after
You
show.
are.
You go back to bed.
Yeah, that's what you do best, I guess.
Apparently,
Just argue with the chat.
Just
What are you
so
guys
much
arguing
fun.
about
It's
today?
just so much fun. I
Like,
love
what do you? I can't
resist.
Focus on what goes on over there while I'm trying to do
arguing in the chat is like I don't know.
What do you got to give us the cliff notes?
Addicting.
What was happening today?
Just someone thinks that we're paid by Israel and or the Vatican to shill for Trump and or the Vatican or something like that. Which I have a complaint to make, which is that my check has not come in yet.
I was gonna say that, like, man, it'd be nice if I could get paid for that.
Seriously, come on.
Like, I didn't get any USAID money. The USECB didn't send us any checks. Peter Pence didn't pay for us. Israel's not cutting me any checks.
Vatican, if you're listening, I will dial the Pope-splaining up to 11 if you pay me enough. Okay? I'll send you my PayPal. Just get in touch.
I didn't even get invited to the influencer gathering. I didn't get any private tours of the Vatican Gardens. Are you kidding me? That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
That would be nice.
Like, it's kind of like what? Remember that documentary film called Matrix?
Yes.
Okay, remember that scene where I forget the character's name, but he was like one of the supporting characters, and he's having. You're talking about the scene where Cypher's eating the steak. Yeah.
I knew exactly where you're going. Yeah.
Yes.
I know it's fake, but it tastes so good.
Maybe that's us. I don't know. Yeah. It's funny. In all seriousness, I did get invited by Newsmax of all people to go to the Holy Land. They were going to pay. Actually, they weren't doing the paying. Israel was going to do the paying. And I'm like, no, thanks. I do not want to go to Israel on Israel's dime. If I ever get to go to the Holy Land, it's not because Israel's paying for the tab. Thank you, but no thank you. I want to be able to say what I feel is important to say, no matter who likes it or who doesn't like it, including, and most importantly, Israel, I would argue. The traditional Thomist is back, says Joe McClain does not need sleep. Sleep needs Joe McClain. I'm boy.
See,
I don't know if
it's your duty to go give sleep some Joe McClain. So,
oh my heavens, I am not.
Go ahead and go back to bed.
I'm feeling sick, actually. Like, my stomach's bothering me. I think it's the creatine, but I don't know. My head feels really wonky. It's just, I woke up and not in a good place, but the show must go on. The show must go on. And if you know anybody who can send us some of that great Vatican money, then let us know. I mean, because I'm shilling for free, apparently. I'm just a volunteer shill.
I know.
That's the problem. That's the problem right there.
That's the thing that cracks me up is when they admit that they haven't watched the show or haven't watched it in forever, and they're like, I was just coming to see if you're still the same old Israel shills, Trump. You approve everything that Trump does.
When have I ever shilled for Israel?
I don't know. Like, we've never done.
I get hate mail every time I talk about Israel. You're an anti-Semite. You're the worst thing ever.
It's amazing.
Like, people have tried to get me fired from my job because I criticize Israel.
Yeah.
I mean, very recently even. I mean, but I'm shilling for Israel.
Some people are never happy.
And as far as Donald Trump goes, do I not criticize Donald Trump?
Apparently not. Apparently we're we approve of everything he does.
Everything.
We tout his agenda every day. We're just apparently
all day. In fact, I was thinking about getting the orange tan thing too. I mean, it works for Roger Stone. It works for Donald Trump.
There you go. Yeah.
Why can't it work for me? It seems like it could work for me. I don't know.
The traditional Thomist wants to sub in for you today, Joe. He says that he and I can talk about how much humility we've learned from watching the show. It's true. It's true. This is what the show has made me into, the world's humblest producer. It says so right on my mug.
It says so right
that I got
there.
for myself.
It has to be true because it says so right there. Well, the good news is I suck at this, so it's very little impact. Me being sick and not feeling well and not being on my A game. So it's like very little.
I can't even tell the difference.
Very few people care, so it's all well and good. Hey, James 16897, Damon, good morning to you. Praise be to God. Paul, our friend from Buffalo. Jane, good morning. Mary, you are amazing. Mary, God bless you. Thank you. Rebecca is here. Good morning to you. Where did the week go? I don't know, Rebecca. Everything is flying by at warp speed. It's insane how fast time is moving right now. Like it's middle of August. Like, slow down, for crying out loud.
It's
we're gonna wake up. We're gonna blink, and Jake's gonna be a married man.
It's 2 months. We're 2 months away, and I still have no idea what I'm doing. So.
It's over. It's over. It's over. So he's going to have to check his bachelor card. I'm teasing, of course. I'm happy for him. Jane, good morning to you. How do you spell the saint's name? I don't know. It's Birchman today?
Yeah, St. Jan Berkmans. But
Berkmans.
You'll often hear John Birchmans.
Jan.
It's Jan or John, John, and it's Berchmans. Birchmans. Great saint.
Kelly, good morning to you. Sci-Fi is here. Good morning to you. Sci-Fi, are you calm now? You were angry yesterday, I think. Are you better?
What was he angry about? Did we say something? Did we say something incorrect about Star Trek?
Probably. I don't know.
Or about
he, like others, are just triggered over me being a total shill for Israel and Vatican.
Yeah, clearly,
probably.
yes, exactly.
So hopefully you're calmer now, Sci-Fi. Praise be to God for it too. Honey West, good morning to you. Why don't we skip the after show? That's the funnest part.
I know.
It's when I get to figure out who Jake argued with today. Like, come on now.
Honestly, it's
rob
addicting.
Me of this?
It's addicting.
You would rob me of this pleasure?
That's why half the time I don't ban people, because it's more fun to just argue with them.
Entertaining is more entertaining.
It's more fun to argue with them.
Oh, my. Good morning, ACT friends. Hope you feel better. So I do, too. I hope I also feel better. We're probably going to have to wrap this up at 30 past, though, today, because I'm feeling like a train wreck today. Honey West, good morning again. Thanks for being on the team today. Praise be to God. T-Storm is here. Good morning to you. Paul wants us to go to confession. Okay, I'll go. I just went, but I'll go again. Jen Nugent, hubby's sick in bed. Go to what? What is it? Is there like a bug going around or something? Jake's eyes are going to be opened really, really wide. Is that when he gets married, do you mean? Woo, man, oh man. It's not for the faint of heart marriage, Hey, Len Pine, good morning to you. Nick, the Mike, Honey West, again, is over on the Facebooks. Praise be to God. Good morning to you. Gwenta says, be careful with that phrase, kids are resilient. That is the phrase divorce advocates use to justify the horrors of divorce and what they do to children. That's true.
There's a point to that, I suppose.
There is a point to that.
I mean, it's again, it has to come from a place of love. I think We Have the Recipes was saying something here about this in the chat, which is that if you're kind of making things tough on your kid for the wrong reason, they can probably tell. Like, especially if it's a kind of like, you're not getting any inheritance. You have to work as hard as I did. I earned this and I'm spending it on my timeshare down in Florida. Like, whatever. Like that's not right. Like what you earn, like, is supposed to be passed on to the next generation. What you need to do is train them to make sure they don't squander it and take it for granted and are spoiled. That's the point. And that kind of leads into the one criticism I had, which is as an elitist myself, this kind of who has worked blue collar jobs for many years. The kind of I'm not accusing Conor of this, but his title is kind of playing into this kind of fetishization of the blue collar versus white collar work ethic type of thing, as if like white collar people don't know how to work or are spoiled, like just inherently by being white collar. Like it's kind of part of this Protestant work ethic, or even like even kind of what leads into
work ethic.
Communism.
It's an amazing thing
where you're kind of
lead to communism.
Again, the aristocrats don't know anything. They don't know how to work. The upper classes are spoiled, rotten, and don't know what to do. And only the good, noble, virtuous peasants are worthwhile. Like that's kind of just communism.
No.
So
no way.
I don't like that framing. And I'm not accusing Conor of this. I'm just saying, like, his title kind of plays into that worldview. You've been
triggered,
which is yes, I have.
we know where your button is.
I'm an elitist. I gotta stick up for the petty gentry. Especially because
gentry.
Well, that's what I am. So. My kind of people in Poland, there were all these names for them about how like they didn't have any serfs in their village because they were nobility, but they were so poor that they had to work the fields themselves.
They couldn't afford the serfs.
Exactly. Well, they just didn't have any. It wasn't about you couldn't go buy them. You either had them or you didn't. So
they just go buy them.
I got to stick up for hierarchy and class system here to say that virtue is available no matter what your state in life is, and it's your job to get it there and not be abandoning your state in life out of some kind of misplaced view of, oh, well, the peasants are inherently more virtuous because they work. And it's like, as if, aristocrats don't have work to do. It's like
the people's workforce should work hard, and the bourgeoisie should always be at the service of the peoples. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Polachicho says, Buenos dias, Joe. You are so right. From your lips to God's ears, Polachicho. From your lips to God's ears. Ronnie's on to something here. Jake is triggered. I agree. That was Phoebe who said that, by the way. Ronnie says, Joe, stop the supplements. Everyone's body is different. People overload themselves with supplements, and sometimes they can overwhelm certain systems in that body. That may be happening right now. I mean, the 87 grams of creatine today probably was a wee bit too much. I just opened the whole container and put water in it, and then just try. Like I had only 20 grams today, but man, I feel like when I woke up before I even drank that, I woke up feeling bad. So I'm not sure what COVID's going around again, Patty. Stop it! Stop. We don't want COVID. I thought we voted that out. I hope it's been voted out. Lori, good morning to you. You like his idea? You like Connor's idea of the guardian angel? I do too. Nicole, good morning to you. Masturbation breeds sexual addiction and causes many to live in shameful, unconfessed mortal sin. Yep, exactly. Which is why no Catholic organization should be teaching it to anybody ever under any circumstances. But that's where we're at. Junior Barra. David Bloomer says, good morning. Happy feast day of Blessed Michael J. McGivney, founder of the Knights of Columbus. Viva Jesu. Well, ora pro nobis, right? Christine OFS, good morning to you, says, creatine makes my stomach and head upset. Kind of feeling that right now. I did stop it for a few days. Then start up a smaller doses. The problem is the doctor lady I watched said you got to get 25 grams because what they say is less than 20 grams, your muscles will prioritize and they'll put themselves in first place in line to absorb that. So if you got to get past that so the brain can start getting in on the action, which is why they're doing 25. But I don't know. It's just not working out, I guess. I don't know what to say.
Ronnie 78Z here makes a good point about over supplementation because you might be imbalancing other things when you're trying to balance something else out. You need to have kind of a full picture of what you need and what needs to be fixed, so you can have that all in balance. I think that's a really important thing. He's the overdoing one adjustment can throw something else out of whack. That's a fairly common thing to happen, I think. So that might be part of the problem here. Is you see the issue and you think you're taking something that should be good for that issue, but it's imbalancing something else.
Yeah, it might be. I don't know. I am drinking lots of water, actually. I fill this thing up several times a day of water. I also put a lot of electrolytes in there, too. So I do get a lot of water in. But I mean, today, I didn't even really, I couldn't even drink my coffee. I barely had any of it. I just couldn't get it done. It made me feel worse. So I didn't even drink hardly any coffee. Roxanne says, thank you for showing the Lepanto Institute's findings on Catholic charities using USAID funds to promote abortion and contraceptives. So sad. It is sad, isn't it, Roxanne? I think it's terrible. Maclay Curtis, good morning to you. Says, please pray for me as my wife and I are expecting our first child in November. We're going to name her. I wouldn't recommend naming her Joe McClain, but
it's short for Josephine.
I appreciate the sentiment.
It's short for
Josephine.
I was waiting for you to get to that comment. I was correct.
But don't punish the child over me. Don't do it.
Life ain't easy for a boy named Joe McClain.
That's right. Exactly.
Actually, this would be a girl, right? A girl named Joe.
A girl. He said a girl.
Yes. Josephine is common. I know a lot of Josephines.
Josephine. That's not a name you hear all that often anymore.
No, it's a pretty name.
Drew Black. Good morning to you, Drew. Says, Joe, my doctor says creatine may tax your kidneys. You need ongoing lab tests to monitor. He said, begin with 5 grams. I may just stop altogether, to be honest with you. I do magnesium at night. I've been doing creatine in the morning last few weeks anyway. But it just makes me feel terrible. I remember one of the first times I ever took vitamins. I was in the Marine Corps at the time. It was like one of those like generic jars that you buy like at Walgreens or CVS or someplace like that. It's like a generic daily. I took one of those on an empty stomach and got sick as a dog over that. Ugh, never wanted to take vitamins again. Joe, when will you reach the goal with the creatine? Well, I think it's I think it's supposed to be ongoing. You're supposed there's like a ramp up period where your body is absorbing it, and then after that is supposed to be when you get the benefits, from what I understand. But I don't know. You do need plenty, like a gallon of water. Well, I've been drinking a lot of water. I'm pretty sure I drink, like I said, 2 or 3 of these a day. When I'm working out, even more. It can take days to get medications. What are we talking about? Out of the body, you mean? Water is great, but metabolism must happen. That requires enzymes. There are kinetics involved. See, that's the problem. Is you got to be a bloody engineer. You got to be a doctor. You got to have a medical degree to figure some of this stuff out. I hate that. I hate that about life. Like, good grief.
You just got to work harder, Joe.
That's 100% true.
Got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and learn every aspect of the medical profession in order to medicate yourself.
That's what exactly you got to do. Right. That's 100% true. Buy a juicer, get organic turmeric and ginger root, and make shots. Now you're giving Jake bad ideas. Drink one a day. See what you've done, Nicole. You're triggering this poor young gentleman who drinks way too much and smokes way too much. He's about to get married. His wife's going to tell him no more drinking and smoking for you.
Unfortunately, my wife is the one who was like, a tour of the Scotch distilleries? Absolutely.
This is not going to be helpful, okay? It's not going to be helpful. Has Joe spoken about recent cringe Lila Rose video?
Loki, you missed me and a bunch of insiders arguing all over the insider chat yesterday about this.
Have I spoken about the cringe Lila Rose? No, I haven't.
I don't think Joe cares.
Honestly, it's really like it doesn't. I don't really.
It's really a nothing. It's just
it's kind of a nothing.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. Did they over sexualize Father Mike Schmitz? Maybe that was cringy. I agree.
I'm laughing at people who are defending the video, saying, "Oh, it's taken out of context. You can't just post excerpted clips or whatever and criticize them." She posted that herself. She clearly believes in that highlight as a highlight. It's like so.
Well, she didn't, but her team did.
Well, yeah, but that was posted by her account. So
Yeah, well, I don't think she posts on her account.
Defend what's there, not defending. Like you're taking it out of context.
Well, I mean, my point is that there's somebody else that probably did that. I don't know that she was involved in the decision making, but it's on her name, so it's on her.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, it's probably somebody else. Like, for instance, when the Catholics for Catholics took my interview with Bishop Schneider and they removed all of our branding and put their own branding on top of it and reposted it.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's unprofessional. You guys shouldn't do that. John Yep reached out to me personally to apologize. Like, listen, my team did this. It was unprofessional. He apologized. I'm like, great, good for you, man. Praise God. I wish him no ill will. But same thing there. I wouldn't hold anything on her own name to count. Like, it's not likely her, so I'm not going to sit there and fuss over it too much.
Sure. But, I think it was clear to see that there was a conversation being had there, and it's not out of bounds to critique a public conversation.
No, that's what we do, right?
Exactly, yeah.
That's what we do. I didn't really get into it.
McClay Curtis says, "Just eat a few crayons, Joe. You'll be fine." That's what it is. You're in a crayon deficiency.
Semper Fi, brother.
You have a crayon deficiency.
I haven't had crowns in many years now. I got out in '95, so we haven't had Crayolas on the menu in a long time.
Vitamin C for Crayola.
Yeah, buddy. Sometimes when you add new vitamin regime, your body starts to detox. You feel sick. It's good to get to cut back a little, then resume when you don't feel sick anymore. I don't know. We'll see. Joe, have you tried increasing your alcohol and smoking to see if that helps with your fainting spells?
Exactly. See, I've been telling Joe for ages that his problem is a sugar deficiency, that his brain would work great if it got the right fuel.
If it just had more carbs.
Exactly. I've been telling him that for ages, but he won't listen.
We have more carbs.
He's stubborn. He's a thick-necked people.
I can just eat eat cookies and smoke and drink.
I didn't say cookies.
Time.
I didn't say cookies.
Yeah.
Cookies is all starch. Like, no.
Well,
I'm saying you need to be
homemade.
I'm saying you need to be pounding the orange juice and get some of the proper iodine supplements in there.
Is that what that is?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Lynn Pine, good morning to you. You see the kind of shenanigans we have to put up with here? How about taking a vacation from the creatine? I'm thinking about it, Angelique. I'm on the fence here. I don't even know if I'm going to continue on. If it makes me feel this terrible. Listen, it's one thing to feel nauseous and kind of really squirrely like I feel right now. It's quite another to then not also have like the extra benefit of being like super sharp mentally, which is the rub. Like that was the promise, is that I would feel super sharp mentally. I certainly haven't felt that. I still feel it's fog brain in the morning, so it really makes it hard. So I don't know. I better start seeing some results pretty soon, I guess. Debbie says, Joe, make sure you rest enough during the summertime. Take care of yourself and make sure that you respect what your body is leading you to do. Sending prayers to. Well, thank you, Debbie. That was very nice. Thank you. Appreciate it. Power through, Joe. Power through. All right, MB Slick. That's the answer right there. That's the grit we're talking about today, is having the grit to just pull up your bootstraps and get her done. I've actually, I don't, in the last 10 years, I might have called in sick 1 or 2 times. Maybe. I've done radio shows with COVID. I mean, good news is I'm not around anybody, so I don't get anybody sick. But, I many times I've like not slept all night. I'll still do the show. That's part of the reason why
I've done that.
To lights 10's, point. That's why we suck at what we do, because I'm often not 100%. I'm sitting around 30% on battery charge. But what was the great? What's his name? The great Rush Limbaugh say, with half my brain tied behind my back. See, I can identify with that. Half my brain is literally missing right now. So you guys would be in real trouble if I could actually think straight for a minute. The traditional Thomas says, Joe, have you considered fasting? It has lots of results very quickly. Oh, actually, yeah, I intermittent fast every day. I stop eating. Generally, I'm done with food by 1:30 and don't eat again until about 8:30, 9:30 maybe the next day. And I don't snack in between. So I do a lot of intermittent fasting. What I need to do is I need to get back to 24, 48-hour fasts. I haven't done that since Lent, and I think that's the problem, is I need to start adding those back. Michelle, good morning to you. Joe, have you have your lovely wife watch Gary Barca and the MTHFR gene mutation? I did, and started taking a methylated multivitamin, no longer get sick, taking a multivitamin and feeling fantastic now. That's cool. Praise be to God. It's the chemtrails, says Phoebe. Probably. Zena, good morning to you. I couldn't watch it. Good-looking young priests are marketed. Yikes. Are you talking about the Lila Rose thing? Yeah, that was cringy. I'm going to give it that, right? Like, it was kind of cringy to see them sort of Googling, talking about how handsome Father is. Like, I'm sure Father Mike Schmitz gets that a lot, though, right? And he's a good-looking dude. He always was. He's a charismatic guy. I'm sure a lot of women feel attracted to him just because of those characteristics. That's fine. But do we talk about that out loud? I don't know.
Especially when it's 2 married women.
Right,
including a married woman who didn't take her husband's last name.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, what was that? Excuse me. Which one was this?
Lila Rose.
Are you saying her husband's not a Rose?
No.
What's her husband?
I don't even know. I can't remember what his last name is, but she kept her name because she's a public figure. Because she's a feminist. Because like most professional pro-lifers, she is a feminist. This is the problem with
you're just a hater.
This is the problem with what Jim Havens properly calls the mainstream corporate pro-life movement. He uses that phrase all the time, and I love it because it's true. That's what it is. It's an industry. It's a pro-life industry, and it's run by feminists. And it's terrible. And that's why abortion has not gotten banned. That's the problem. What we need is someone to just walk in and say, like, no more killing babies. But it's an industry. It's a pro-life industry. And Lila Rose is part of it. Like, even if good work has been done here and there, that's great. It's good. Trump has done good work here and there, but we're not going to say that, Trump is, the hero of the pro-life movement. Like, it's just, that's a good endorsement. That's a good endorsement considering how often he endorses you, Joe. You can't call him out for being wrong now.
It's so funny. Well, I mean, but Hitler did some good things, right? Like,
he was a vegetarian and an animal rights activist.
Hold on. Those aren't examples, okay? Those aren't examples of the good things. Those are part of the bad things category. Let's find some good things.
Didn't we just have that conversation? Was it last week or whenever it was? Because someone was saying, well, the Democrats are just following Hitler's playbook, and it's like, no, that's bad history. Like, if anything, you could compare the Democrats more to doing what Weimar Germany was like, which the Nazis were kind of a popular reaction against, or that's how they got into power, is because people were so sick of the sexual degeneracy and horrible economic policies of Weimar Germany and the threat of international communism, and they were desperate enough to vote the Nazis into power. And it's like, that doesn't mean that we should look to the Nazis as our platform for defeating, transgenderism and sexual degeneracy like was going on in Weimar. But, you have to actually look at the historical, evidence at hand for that. And it's the same thing with, any of the Lila Rose made. Someone's going to say, you're comparing Lila Rose to Hitler because of the way this conversation has gone. But no, my point is that Lila Rose is part of an industry, a pro-life industry of people who go around having podcasts and doing speaking tours and all this sort of thing about it's bad to kill babies. It's bad to kill babies. And yes, it is bad to kill babies. And I know that Lila Rose and others have done good activism work, at least in the past, that's for sure. But, the fact that there's an industry built around this and all these other tells you can see about her basically just feminist attitude to things, like, it's not good. We shouldn't be promoting this and I think
the bigger question that is asked, that it can be uncomfortable and sensitive, is if you're a married woman, should you be that public on social media?
That's a big one.
I think it's difficult enough for a married man. In fact, my wife hates it. It really is difficult for my wife, for me to be so public. And I'm the type that wears my life on my sleeve. So, I have no issue talking about my life and what happens and what's bad and what's crazy. I mean, I do it all the time and have forever. And that's been very hard for her, that she's not that kind of a person. Is she on social media? Sure, but not like a Lila Rose is, in the sense that, she's trying to be out there expressing opinions or whatever. My wife is much more low-key, hidden behind the scenes kind of a thing. So if you're a married woman, especially I would say a young woman, should you be out in public in that regard? I think the challenge is women, by natural design, by God's design, they're designed to attract, right? They attract their spouse to themselves. They're designed by God's grace and his intention to be attractive. So they have a desire for that attraction, but that can be used in bad ways and twisted and contorted in the wrong way. And so that desire for attraction can be a source of grave temptation. And I think we definitely see that on social media, which is really making it part of the wild, wild west that I don't love, which is why I tend to stay off of it as much as I can. I use social media to figure out what's being talked about all the time, but I try to stay off of it for the most part. I think that's the rub. I think that's where it gets difficult.
Ursula Bielski is in the chat today, and she says
Welcome.
She's
morning.
backed off from her podcast because she started feeling a bit that way. And
Is that right?
Yeah, God bless your discernment on that, because
Right.
even if you are providing something good, you have to be making sure you're doing it in balance and you're not letting it become an excuse for becoming unmoderated in it. Like, oh, I'm doing a good thing. I'm doing a thing that's objectively good, and then you start letting that attitude dominate, and it becomes a point of pride and a point of distortion because you're ignoring other things. That can happen all the time.
Stop. Christine OFS says, should a Catholic be making $500,000 a year for a podcast?
I should.
$500,000 a year?
I should.
What? This is yet another example. No USAID money, no Vatican money, no Israel money, and there's no $500,000 either. Like, what? What am I doing wrong? Maybe that's the problem. Is maybe I need to learn how to do this.
Maybe we need to talk more about how attractive Father Mike Schmitz is.
Maybe that's what we ought to be doing, because clearly I don't know what I'm doing. Like, good grief, $500,000.
Elizabeth Ramirez, that's a great question. Who doesn't have a podcast?
That's the other. You know, I've said this before, but every time someone says, "Oh, you have a podcast," I go, "No, I have a radio show." Like, it's a nuance that nobody cares about. Literally, no one cares about the nuance differences. But for some reason, it always triggers me every time. I'm like, because at that point, everyone has a podcast these days. It's like, it's become so watered down. It's like it doesn't mean anything anymore. Lisa, in Walls, Minnesota Walls and Keith Ellison are going hard after the pro-life and pro-gun organizations. Pro-life and pro-gun are taking Walls Ellison to federal court. I hope they're successful. The Trad Thomas, social media equal women needing validation, men daydreaming of a future dictatorship.
You're kind of touching on a point I was going to make, traditional Thomist, which is that in the early days of the internet, when it was pretty much mostly men on the internet, there was no push for, social media, for having your name and your face on there. It was all anonymous. It was all usernames. You were only really giving out your name if there was some reason for whatever. It was more just about, the anonymity of interacting with other people, sharing ideas. Definitely a bad side too, but it was the early internet was anonymous. You adopted an anonymous persona, and it was more about what you wanted to do or talk about, as opposed to the growth of social media. And women vastly are overrepresented in social media compared to men, because it's about attention for you. This is the way that the male brain works versus the female brain works, and it's really dangerous for women, even more so than men. Like, for men, it's the access to other stuff on the internet that's the danger. We'll just sum it up in that way. For women, it's the attention that they can get through social media that's the danger. Like, men and women have different. Men and women have different. This is what you were saying, Joe. Is that men and women have different sources of temptation in this way. Right. So,
and it's a 2-for-1 special for the devil, right? If a female puts herself in weird situations in order to attract that unhealthy attention, you're going to get the guy as well. So it's 2-for-1 for the devil.
Just like in real life, like when a woman wears immodest clothing, she's getting the attention, she's getting that thing she craves, and a man is tempted for the custody of the eyes type of thing. 2-for-1 special.
Right.
Exactly. It almost always takes two to tango in all these situations.
T Storm says, Joe, you should be triggered if somebody calls your radio show a podcast. Anybody can do a podcast. Heck, I could do a podcast, and I abandoned my radio career long ago in my 20s. I think the fact that anyone can do a podcast is part of what's tearing down our society. Okay, I agree 100%, but you also made me think in a different direction on the same subject, and that is, what's coming next? If now everyone has podcasts, and it's like, what does it mean anymore? What's next? What's the future of creative content, I suppose? I don't know. I really don't know. What's the next generation? If podcast is this generation, what's the next generation? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I mean, it could last fairly long. TV lasted a long time, didn't it? TV lasted.
I still don't think radio is going to be. Radio is obviously a dying medium, but it's not. It's not dead yet, right? So it's still around. Podcasts are going to be around for whatever that next generation really is, but we should start to see a different trend on something else. Like there is a trend that I think is still in its infancy stage right now that I'm very tempted to experiment with, and that is vertical video drama. So like produced short films or television episodic episodes, but in vertical format, not horizontal format. I am seriously tempted to experiment with that, just because I think it'd be kind of fun to try. and see where that goes. So I don't know, but what comes next? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. I completely know what will happen next in the future for creative content or like talk radio style content that now everybody's doing.
Yeah, because it's part of the whole acceleration of technology issue.
My plumber does a podcast. You know what I mean? Like, everyone does.
Everyone does a podcast. Well, it's so easy to just. I mean, this is the whole thing. It's easy to make a movie. It's easy to make a short film. It's easy to.
It's
like,
not
all
easy
these
to
kind
make
of
a
things.
movie.
No, it's not easy.
But
it's easier.
It's very hard.
You know, it's easier. You can film it
more
on
approachable.
You know, you can technically make a short film just with
on
an
your
iPhone.
phone.
Just with an iPhone. You know?
Yeah.
You can
100%.
like if you planned it out and did like a one take short film, you can. I just watched one that my cousin did for her film class. A couple of years back. It was all in one shot. It was a lot of work to do that one shot, but I mean,
the gear is less important than the idea.
Yep.
And then the effort to make that idea come to reality.
Yep. So it's the same thing with a podcast. Anyone can turn on their laptop camera and sit there and be like, "This is what I think about the world." You know, anyone can do that. And I don't know if that's the best thing ever, but in other ways, it counteracts, you know, the gatekeeping of everything going through one network or whatever. But it'll be interesting where the exponential growth of technology takes us next.
Hey, Gregwensa says, the clips I saw about the Lila video was cringe. Hearing them talk about talk about sex, particularly, her guest was gross. Gross. I'm not sure what that is. Is that like a term for the kids? Gross. I don't even know what that means.
Maybe it's just uff.
Uff. Maybe it was just cringy. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was a wee bit cringy, but I don't want to overreact either to Lila Rose, even though she makes $375,000 a year.
That's why you don't get that, Joe, because you're not overreacting.
Jake,
we need to do more reaction. Now. We need to do more reaction videos.
Jake's obviously holding out. Are we making $500,000 a year?
Too. There we go.
And you're holding out on me?
I wish.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? We'd own Hunting Land if we made that kind of money. Could you imagine owning Hunting Land? That'd be so amazing. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow morning. God love you.